Hi, I wanted to go live today to talk about numbing because I realized that I've been sober for 6 years, and when I got sober, weed wasn't legal in California. Like, when I got sober, there was no delivery of these substances. Like, when I got sober, rosé wasn't in a can yet. And so I realized, there might be some stuff that I, as a leader, as a mentor, I'm not thinking about as much. And it came up recently with someone who was thinking about making healthy changes in their life, and was kind of confused about how to do that when life is already so stressful, so catastrophic, and you might be feeling really overwhelmed right now. And if you're burned out, if you're feeling burnout right now, you have very few inner resources to deal with how you're feeling. That's what burnout is, right? We hit the wall. We're done. You're too stressed, your health is suffering, and maybe you need to make a change in your life, but it's all too overwhelming. The wall is too high. There's this I did Tough Mudder, if anyone's heard of it, in college, and me and a group of friends did this. It's this extreme challenge sport obstacle course. It's dangerous, it's crazy, but each of us had a different challenge that was really scary to each one of us. So for one of us, for one of my friends, it was running down a really steep hill, super scary. For another friend, it was playing in the water and going through the electric wire. This is a crazy thing to do, but my kind of people are crazy kind of people. And mine was running straight at a giant quarter pipe. It was running straight at this very tall wall. Most of you haven't met me in person. I'm a shorty. I'm 5'1". So I was running at this very tall wall, and it was so scary to me. I couldn't even start running. And the goal was to climb over the wall. And of course, I'm immediately there's no way, I can't do it. I physically cannot reach that high. I'm just gonna run at the wall and fall down. No one's gonna be able to help me, da-da-da. And then what happened was finally, I think two of my friends went ahead and did it. And I watched them do it, right? So we have mirror neurons in our brain, and basically we are, as social creatures, we are built to mirror one another. And that's why the company you keep is so important, because whether you like it or not, you're mirroring each other. So get, badass, inspiring friends or mentors, basically. And so I was watching them do it. I saw that it was possible. And so finally I ran at the wall, and I didn't know who was going to help me. I didn't know what was going to happen. But as soon as I took the action and ran at the wall, as soon as I got to the wall, was able to, and a quarter pipe is like a skateboarding thing, by the way. As soon as I got there, hands reached down and grabbed me. And I got up so freaking easily because people were there to grab me. And so if you're in a situation where you're feeling super burned out and stressed, and you're I don't know, life was supposed to be different, I need a change, I know I need a change, and something needs to change, and I don't know what to do, you are watching this video for a reason, because I'm here to be that hand. Those hands that help me, I'm here to be that hand. If you would like to take my hand, and help you find those resources, those inner resources that are going to allow you to get out of burnout and move into feeling like a freaking calm, balanced, sexy leader, which is what you're really meant to be. None of us came to this world to be stressed and overworked and resentful and angry, and then we die. That's not the intention for your life. I know that's not your intention for your life. If you're watching this, I attract very committed, intentional, high-achieving women and people. And it's totally normal to need support, and it's totally normal to be like, how did I get here? I don't like it here. I said in an earlier video that contrast is actually really helpful because it helps you see, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't like this, you know? And one story I don't share often enough, but like when I was working in my cubicle job, I knew in my body, I knew in the first week, and this is where we're going to talk about numbing, I knew in that first week that I was in the wrong place and that I had made a mistake. And I have to say too, like, I loved so many people I worked with in that job. So I don't want to knock like the people, but I was just in the wrong place. And I knew it and I felt it, and I was way too scared to like listen to that and to be like, oh, I don't feel right here. This isn't where I don't feel like this is where I'm meant to be. I'm not happy. Like there are things I'm seeing. There's like a style of work that like isn't going to work for me. I didn't have the boundaries at the time or the assertiveness at the time to even communicate that I was going to need to work in a different way, which is a totally normal thing to say at a job, but I just didn't have it. Side note, I do this a lot when I talk live. I don't know why. Hello, welcome. So it was in my first week at that job, and I knew I was in the wrong place. And then I was way too scared to change anything. I wasn't going to quit my job because, hello, I just got this job. And like, remember those days back when it used to look weird if you had a bunch of jobs on your resume? And now that like COVID's hit and people are starting their own businesses and side hustles, and like, it's a new world, baby. It's a new world. So if that's you, not a problem. People get it. We're all kind of a mess right now. And I personally believe everyone should start their own business. So if you haven't and want support on that, you can reach out to me. But I was way too scared to make any changes. I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to get a future job because I was very much in like employee 9-to-5 mindset. Like I need to have a stable, steady job to survive or something. And so I didn't make any of those changes. And instead what I did was I started smoking again because it helped me feel better, kind of. I have been nicotine free for like 3 years now, it'll be 4 years in May, but like that was November before I quit again in May, and I started again, man, and I started smoking a pack a day again. And I did it because I didn't want to face how I was feeling about this job. I was in a really stressful situation with a friendship, and it was just like, I'm just gonna do this. I'm just gonna do this thing that harms me, hurts me, I know is bad for me. It's really hard for me to stop doing it. Like it's full-blown addiction, but like whatever, right? And so I numbed myself. And I knew from week 1 that job was not the right job for me. And I numbed myself and I numbed myself. And yes, eventually I quit smoking, which was dope. And I'll get to why that's important later. Not that you have to quit whatever it is, but it really helped me when I did it. And I'll tell you why. So I felt that way in that job. And you guys, I didn't quit for another 2 years. And let me tell you, nothing changed about how I felt. I thought, and eventually I was doing this like, I don't know if I'd call it abusive, but it's this thing you do sometimes, and we all do it, where it's like, I should be grateful, I should feel different. If I were more spiritual, I'd be fine. If I were more spiritual, I'd be able to handle all of this better. I'd be happy at this job I don't like. And finally, I reached a point where, I was sober, I'd quit smoking. Enough of the stuff was clear, the distractions were gone, that I finally realized this actually sucks so bad. Like my talents aren't being used. I was crying at my desk at least once a week. I was and feeling so much stress. It was a very stressful job. And no matter how hard I worked, no matter how fast I worked, the work kept piling up. And, not having boundaries at the time, I didn't know how to say, I can't do this, or I don't have the bandwidth, I don't want to. And finally I hit that point, that magical point where I started, it was so bad, it hurt so bad that I started focusing on what I wanted. And so by letting go of some of those numbing agents and letting myself really feel how my soul was being crushed, how I was burned out, how I was just missing some key elements of having boundaries and having a career that I cared about and felt successful in and felt like I was making a difference in. Once I realized the real situation, and that's the thing, numbing yourself is keeping you stuck because you're not realizing how difficult things really are for you, how misaligned things really, really feel if you're being really, really honest with yourself. So my homework for you, my advice for you, is to start thinking about, where am I numbing myself? Where am I giving myself a short-term sugar high? And the version of me who's the master of her life, the master of her emotions, is she doing these things? And it's not to make yourself feel bad. It's to really start thinking about what do I want to be doing instead? What would actually feel good? Because for me, with all those ways I was numbing myself, they didn't actually feel good. I felt guilty. I felt rotten. I felt like I knew on a soul level, I knew this was not what I was supposed to be doing either, right? We know. There's a part of us that knows, right? I go way more into boundaries, setting healthy boundaries, burnout in my transformative course. It's an 8-week course opening on February 1st. I'm going to be talking more about that later this week. It's called Burnout to Balance.